308 has been neglected for far too long. Far too long. So it's time to shoot some 308. If you missed the last video, I picked up some of this Starline 308 brass. So that's the brass we're using. And I've got several different bullet tests planned to test that brass, basically. And as we go along, we'll just make a couple videos on some different bullets. Did that make sense? Yeah. Okay, whatever. You get the idea, right? Today's a 308 test. That's all you really need to know. Let's just move forward. Today's bullet is the 110 grain Hornady Z-Max. In this bullet size and weight, this is actually a V-Max with a green tip. That's really the only difference. Just a nice little flat base. Varmint bullet. So I've never shot anything this light before. I've always stuck in the 150 to 180 range, you know, for deer hunting and stuff with my 308. So this is the first time I've tried a lightweight varmint load. So I'll be interested to see how they shoot. The Hornady manual has got data, of course, for this bullet in this caliber. There we are. I've decided to go with Alliant Reloder 7. I use this powder in 300 blackout, so I've got it on hand. Figured we'd just go ahead and use that one. They do have data for like IMR 4895 and some other slower powders that I've used a lot more in 308, but just decided to go with one of the faster options here, Reloder 7. So they show a max charge of 41.6 grains and a starting charge of 33.3 grains. So, and their max charge of 41.6 is supposed to get us 3,100 feet per second. So we've got a huge range from 33 grains all the way up to 41.6. Tell you what, let's round it off there and shoot 41.5, or we'll shoot up to 41.5. We'll start at 37.5. We'll just take big 1 grain jumps just to cover a lot of ground here and see how the different loads shoot. So yeah, 37.5 up to 41.5. They show an overall length of 2.740. I did check with my guns to make sure that wasn't going to hit the lands. Of course, this is a freaking tiny bullet. So I didn't really think that would be a concern anyway, but I went ahead and measured it. In my Tikka, it was about 2.832 to hit the lands, and in my Savage, it was 2.812. So we're almost 100 thousandths short of those numbers, so we're going to have a decent little bit of jump. I was also looking, I wouldn't really want to go much longer just because, you know, the amount of bearing surface that is in contact with the case. Here, I'll show you. Okay, this is my split case that I use for stuff. You can see that split in the neck there. That's what, so this is seated to 2.740. And I just wanted to show you how much of the bearing surface of the bullet is in contact with the neck. That's enough, I think. You know, I think that's going to be enough to get a hold of the bullet. But I wouldn't really want to stretch that much. So we're just going to stick with 2.740 and yeah, just go with that. Just go with that. Now, as far as primers go, I did pick some CCI number 200s, large rifle primers. I have cheated. I was sitting here watching the presidential address, and I went ahead and weighed out all of the charges because I was bored. So I have got 25 pieces for the Tikka. Now this brass was shot once. You know, it's been fire formed to the Tikka. I'm keeping track of which ones belong to the Tikka and which ones belong to the Savage. The Savage had a little bit sloppier of a chamber, so yeah, whatever. You watched the last video, you know all this crap. But yeah, so this has been full length sized and completely prepped, ready to rock. All right, one last visual inspection of my charges here. Yep, they're all there. So we can go ahead and just get to seating some bullets. This is going to be a quick one. Oh, I need a seating die. There it is. Going to use my Forster Ultra Micrometer seating die. I love these Forster dies. Okay, the die is in here and backed out a bunch. So we are ready to rock. Working from left to right. Trying to make sure I don't get myself confused. So flat base bullets are a pain in the butt to get started sometimes. But I've got a good chamfer on the case mouth here. And we should be just fine. Yep, doesn't feel like it touched. Okay, getting it pretty close here. Go ahead and seat another one. .742 and 2.743. Let's go down a little bit. All right, we are good. These are seating nicely. They seem to be giving pretty consistent overall length numbers. Double check one more here. Yep, 2.740 right on the number. Plenty of case capacity left. We're not anywhere close to a full case. So these should all seat. I shouldn't have to mess with the bullet seating die at all. It's just a matter of running them through. So that's about it here for the bench portion of this program. The next video, I'll probably try a neck size. I've never tried neck sizing brass for the lever action, but thinking maybe it might work. Or at the very least, just bump it very little. Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of thinking ahead. But as far as this goes, this is boring. I will just see you guys out on the range, and we'll see how they shoot. Tell you what, it does make a pretty good looking round. I thought they might look goofy, you know, being so small, but the flat base, the profile out here really just looks normal. It looks like that looks like a butt kicker. All right, so I finally got a day with some good weather to get out here on the range with the 308. We've got the Tikka. We've got our box of ammo. Over there is our Savage. We've got Caldwell chronograph set up. And then the white in the middle out there is our target at 100 yards. I am going to shoot these guys from the prone with a bipod, because that's how I feel like rolling today. So let's get started. So both of these guns have thin barrels, and barrel heat is definitely something that I need to be worried of. So I'm going to switch between the two guns as we shoot. So I'm going to shoot a group with the Tikka, switch to the Savage and shoot a group with it, and then go back. That should keep them both nice and cool throughout. Okay, as you can see, I've got dots down there on the target for both guns. Top row is the Tikka, second row is the Savage. We are going to start with the Tikka. And 37.5 is going to be first. I'm just going to single load these guys, because I forgot to bring out my bigger magazine. This magazine, I think it holds 3, and then there's one in the chamber, so it won't hold enough for a 5-shot group, which just ends up being annoying, so we'll just single load them. So that case is very smoky down the side, and actually a little bit of smoke on the rim. So pretty light load, but that's good. That's where you want to start. Very, very light recoil. Very light recoil. Fun to shoot. Wow, that one was definitely out of the group. Interesting. Let's hope that one was just a fluke. Our velocity average was 2,875 feet per second. Standard deviation of 48.6. That's kind of gross. Spread of 96 feet per second. All right, let's switch out to the Savage with the same load. This one has a magazine big enough for 5 rounds, so we'll just go ahead and use it. I do have one round here that I marked purple. You're not going to be able to see it, but I marked it purple with a Sharpie because I boogered up the tip a little bit whenever I was seating the bullet. We're going to shoot this one first. So the odds are good it'll fly just fine, but if it doesn't, we reserve the right to ignore it. All right, similar sort of look here. Smoke down the side of the case, down on the rim of the case, so nice low charge. I'm having trouble getting a comfortable cheek weld with this scope so high. I think I'm definitely going to look, these see-through rings might be handy, but I think I want something a little bit lower so I can get a better cheek weld. All right, so that's going to get confusing. Tell you what, I'll go ahead and move our scope left 1 minute. So we'll see how that does. Our average velocity is 2915 with a 20.7 feet per second standard deviation and a spread of 49. So that's a little bit better than the Tikka was with that load. Okay, 38.5. All right, so these groups aren't awful so far, but nothing terribly exciting. Our average velocity that time was 2921 with a 19.5 feet per second standard deviation. So that's an improvement. So let's switch over and shoot them in the Savage. It's kind of a little bit weird switching back and forth between a 24 power scope and a 12 and a the Tikka trigger is excellent and very light, and this one, it's excellent. It's got a very crisp break, but it is significantly it's a heavier trigger. I think my grandfather worked this trigger over a little bit. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask him next time I see him. But it's a good trigger. It's just heavier, so I got to be on my toes here. The other problem I'm having, like I mentioned with the cheek weld, is that this scope doesn't have adjustable parallax, and I am seeing some parallax error here at 100 yards. These scopes are normally set up to have no parallax error at 100, I thought. But this one, if I shift my head around, those crosshairs are definitely moving around. So I've just got to be careful. Even though I don't have a comfortable cheek weld, I need to get a repeatable cheek weld nonetheless. So let's see how they shoot. 38.5. All right, so the bullets might be going on top of one another. So you guys keep track of where the original 5 were, and we'll see where these 5 land. Okay, that doesn't look bad. Average velocity 2966 with a standard deviation of 15.4. I'm an idiot. I put my bipod on backwards. Started to lean into it and load it up a little bit, and it just kept giving. That's not good. All right, let's try this again. So the brass still looks good. I am still getting a little bit of smokiness and a little bit of fouling all the way down on the rim of the case. So no pressure issues to speak of. Our velocity that time was 3,051 feet per second with a 31.9 feet per second standard deviation, spread of 82. So definitely not getting impressive standard deviation numbers with this powder. All right, let's see how the Savage does. Now with the Savage, I'm not seeing any fouling down on the rim anymore. The side of the case is definitely still a little bit smoky. And the primers are maybe starting to get just the smallest amount of flattening, but nothing bad. Okay, so the Savage kind of starting to spray them around a little bit. Let's have a look at the rest of these primers. They look just fine. Check our velocity, 3,049 feet per second with a 17.1 feet per second standard deviation number. That's interesting. The Savage has been the faster of the 2 guns so far, but then here with the 39.5 grain charge, it switched over. They're just about exactly the same. The Tikka was 30.51 and the Savage is 30.49. Interesting. Okay, 40.5. Okay, average velocity 3,073 feet per second with another really gross standard deviation number of 32.9. Okay, let's see what the Savage makes of them. All right, the last charge did have some primer flattening, so let's have a closer look at this brass. The shoulder smoking, or the case smoking, is pretty much gone now. Primer's definitely showing some flattening, but nothing I'm concerned about. So So let's see if it'll group. Okay, so the groups don't seem all that impressive. The recoil is still very, very light. Very comfortable to shoot. Let's see what our velocity was. Average velocity 3,100 feet per second. Right on the nose with a standard deviation of 9.2. So that's very interesting that we're seeing much better standard deviation numbers from the Savage than the Tikka. So one more charge to shoot. So let's get swapped back out and try out 41.5. Hopefully I've got my camera set up where you guys can see that okay. So the Tikka is finally showing just the slightest bit of primer flattening. All of the case smokiness is gone. So we're definitely up to pressure. Velocity on that first shot was 3,180. Good deal. Let's see if they group. All right, so that group wasn't too bad. That fourth shot kind of screwed it up a little bit, but overall, definitely our best group with the Tikka. What was our velocity? 3,173 and a standard deviation of 13.0. All right, here we go. All right, so that was pretty fun to shoot. Let's see what was our velocity on this guy. 3,162. Standard deviation 46.2. That's kind of gross. We had one shot that was way low on velocity that opened our spread up to 116. That kind of screwed it up. All right, let's get packed up. Let's get back to the bench. Have a look at our groups. So my bench is a complete disaster here. Got a lot of projects going on, but we can overlook that, right? Let's start out and have a look at our groups. Not awesome. Not very awesome at all. Top row with the Tikka. Our best group was the highest charge at 1.5 inches. I guess it kind of got better as it went. Our first group was 2.8, and then a couple that were right at 2 inches, and then this 1.5-incher. So, not terrible with the Tikka, but certainly not stellar. The Savage was pretty bad. It got worse as our charge weight went up. Like our first two groups weren't terrible. We had a 2.9-inch group, the blue, and then a 2.6-inch group in the green there. That's not terrible. But then it kind of opened up 3.9, 3.7, and 4.2. So this is the problem with reloading. I really want to try this bullet again with a different powder. Like, you know, this was a very fast powder for 308. I'd like to try it with one of the slower powders that were in the manual. I think I mentioned IMR 4895 was in there and some others. But maybe we'll circle back around to this at some point. But for now, I need to move forward. We'll go on to a different bullet. But a little bit disappointing with Reloder 7. But I know these bullets shoot so well in 300 Blackout. I'm sure there's a combination that'll make them shoot well in my 308s as well. Velocities were excellent. I think we beat the what the manual was predicting by a little bit. So 3173 and 3162 were our two highest averages. So pretty smoking fast. I like it. No complaints about our Starline brass so far. Seems to be doing great. That's 2 firings on the brass. Nothing to really complain about. So I learned something by accident earlier today. I was getting ready to go out and shoot this, and I wanted to load up a few sighters with the Z-Max just to make sure my scope was just right before we started shooting our groups. So I came up, grabbed 10, it's this back row here, if you can even see it, grabbed 10 pieces of brass and went to go ahead and load them up. Well, the thing was, I had grabbed my Redding die set out of the pile, and I was just using them. I went to use the bullet seating die, and I could not get it to work. It would not go short enough. If you'll remember back to the beginning of this video when we loaded, I was using this Forster Ultra Micrometer seating die. This is the Redding die. Now the problem, the seating stem, it goes down and it bottoms out. So it can only go so far, and then at that point, what limits you, this die has got a crimp in it. So if you keep screwing it down, it'll start engaging the crimp. So we're kind of screwed here. What I did, I grabbed my my split neck case that I keep around for tests. Where's the split? There's the split. The bullet that's in here now, I wanted to see how deeply the Forster could seat it, and that's where that's where it seated it. I need my bullet puller to pull it out. But I did similar tests with this setup and this die. The absolute shortest I could get it to go, even with the crimp engaged a little bit, was 2.759 overall length. We shot 2.740, so that's almost 20 thousandths too long when seating with this Redding die. So I thought I'd bring that up, let you know. I don't have any other 308 seating dies, unfortunately. But if you've got a Lee or an RCBS or anything, whatever, a Hornady, if you know that die works with this bullet, let us know in the comments, because at least the Redding here isn't going to work. And really your only option would be to do some type of modification to the seating stem, or maybe Redding sells a different seating stem. I don't know. Not really sure. All right, so that's it for this video. I'll be back very soon with another video with this brass. I don't know what we'll shoot next. There's a guy that keeps requesting the 208 grain AMAX or ELD these days. They don't make the AMAX anymore. So I might do that next. Maybe I'll shoot that one. I don't even remember if that's one of the bullets I was planning to shoot in this series, but we're free to change it up, man. We went ultra light this time, so might as well just go all the way on the other end of the spectrum and shoot a really heavy bullet. So sounds like a plan to me. I will see you guys next time.